So last night I posted a video about In the Name of Odin and how much I liked the game, but I also pointed out some shortfalls in the game. And someone came back and said, "Wow, you said you were really energetic about the game. You pointed out the shortfalls, but they weren't entirely convinced about what I really liked about the game. In fact, they were curious about the mechanics. I want to go through real quick and explain what I really liked about the game, and I want to talk about the mechanics a little bit and what I really liked about the mechanics. First of all, the art is beautiful. Now, I'm a huge Viking history fan. I've written some books on it, so on and so forth. So I thought the artwork in this game was beautiful. Other than the miniatures, which I talked about, I think all the rest of the artwork is done beautiful. I think the iconography, even though they don't have player cards, is really well designed. It's very descriptive. I think it's terrific. So from an artwork perspective, this is just a beautiful game. Now, it's a huge board. You cannot play this on a 2-foot by 4-foot folding table. You got to have a real dining room table to play this on, to be perfectly honest. So that's the artwork. Now let's talk about the mechanics, and kind of give you a feeling for why I think the mechanics are so good. Now, when you look at the board originally, each spot on the board is a different action you can take, and I talked about that. And it looks like a worker placement game. But it's not, because unlike a worker placement game, if the player before me takes a spot, all the spots are always going to be available to me. Now, it might be a slightly different set of raids, a slightly different of trade cards, different buildings, but always, anything that's there, I'm going to be able to do, which I really like. I like worker placement, but sometimes, particularly if it's a really tight game, like, say, Lords of Waterdeep, it can get a little frustrating for later players, and they don't have this problem here. Now, really what it is, it's a hand management resource game. You got 6 cards at the beginning of your turn, and you have to figure out how to efficiently spend those 6 resources on your turn. Now, what can you do with them? You can recruit heroes, you can build buildings, you can build longships, you can recruit Vikings. So you got the heroes like Brunhilde and Odin and so on and so forth. You also, and say Ragnar. You've also got the standard Viking warriors. You got traders, warriors, and seamen, and you can recruit those as well. And then you can swap out cards. You can go on raids. You can repair your ship. You can send your ship out. You can repair your ship. You can bring your ship home. So there are a whole bunch of different actions that all require the use of these cards. In addition, when it's someone else's turn, if I've got cards in my hand, I can interfere with their raiding. I can make it harder for them to raid. That's the only really gotcha mechanic in this whole game, is that ability to interfere with other people's raids. And by the way, I like that. It's not a huge take-that game where, like Smash Up, where you're constantly interfering with other players. This one, you have one small mechanic where if you want to slightly interfere with another player, you can do that. So you get a little bit of that take-that, but not a ton. So I like that. Now, the hand management I really like, and the resource management I really like, because you have to think about, okay, on my turn, what can I do to prep for the next turn? And I don't know what cards I'm going to get for the next turn, but what can I get? Can I get 90% of the way to the raid? Can I get couple really good buildings? Do I need to prep myself for not building a building this turn, but possibly building a next turn? So the hand management, resource management is really interesting. The fact that cards are multi-use is also very interesting, because all the cards have 2 icons on them. So you can either buy warriors, or so a card may let you buy a specific type of warrior, or maybe a hero. It might let you build stuff, but it can always do 2 things. And so it's that decision-making process. And that's what we discovered when we played it, was there's a lot of decision-making going on that the first time you play, you really don't understand. It takes a second time to play to really say, oh yeah, there's this and this and this, and what if I'm going to do this, and so on. A big amount of decision-making. Now, one of the problems a lot of games have is called that runaway winner. This is what I tend to call it, where some guy gets ahead. And by the way, this is particularly, when you first look at this game, it looks like it's going to be a problem, because whenever you build a building, it's like an extra card in your hand, because each building can be a sort of a substitute for one type of card. And when you build a longship, some of the longships give you extra cards in your hand, and some of the heroes give you extra abilities. So it looks like someone could get really in a runaway position based upon these extra cards. But particularly with respect to, now let's talk about each of them. You can only have 1 hero at a time, so it's not like you can have 10 heroes and have all these extra cards in your hand. You can only have 1 longship unless you have a couple of special abilities that let you have 2 or 3, and so that really can't run away very well. And on the building side, buildings get progressively more expensive. Your first one effectively costs you 4 construction cards. You got to buy the construction token, and that costs you 1, and then you spend 3 more. And then your next building costs you 5 construction cards, and your next one costs you 6, and your next one costs you 7. So it kind of prevents that runaway, that each building gets more and more expensive. I can't even imagine. I think there are 8 buildings, which means that I think it ends up being the last one would cost you you'd have to have 6 construction cards and a construction token. It would be huge. Or no, it'd be 3. You'd need. Yeah, I don't know how you do it. I'd have to think about it. It would be very expensive. I expect it to cost you about 9 points. Well, it's always 8 points. Last one will cost you 9 construction cards. So very expensive compared to the 4 for the first one. So it's prevents from a kind of runaway. No one would ever be able to build any of the buildings. Well, they could, but it'd be really tough. So yeah, I like the decision-making process. I like the fact that there's not a lot of take that, but there's just enough where when it's not your turn, if a person is going on a raid, you have to pay attention and decide whether or not you're going to slightly interfere with their operations. But it's very hard to actually hose a person on a raid. Basically, you can cause it to be a little more expensive to do the raid. You can take away some of their fame, but it's hard to really completely trash someone's raid. So there's a little bit of take that, but not a ton. So that's kind of the mechanics and how they work. I hope that kind of gives you a feeling for how it works, hopefully. I'll post this up for you, and if you have any more questions, hopefully you'll hear from me. You'll post them up. Thanks. Have a good day.